Ladies and gentlemen, the podcast that you're about to hear has extreme amount of spoilers. So if you do not want to have the end game spoiled, stop listening now.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Immature Hour podcast. My name is Eric.
I'm Sam.
And I am Mark.
And we're here today with a very special guest. I want to introduce Adam Henchkins from Yeah, But Seriously.
Hey, guys.
Tell us a little bit about your...
Our little podcast and stuff. We are a entertainment, news, and commentary kind of podcast and YouTube vlog, I guess. We've been on for about a year based out of Baton Rouge, but... pretty much cover industry news, movements, mergers, video games, movie stuff, streaming stuff. So a little bit of everything, just a smorgasbord on all nerd culture, new stuff and things. So co-hosted with Ahmed Siddiqui. But yeah, so we normally come on once or twice a week. Lately we've been on a bit of a hiatus as we've been busy with work. So.
We know nothing about hiatuses.
Nope. Can someone make a definition of hiatus?
Hiatus?
I don't know what that means.
Indefinitely long break.
Oh, I get it.
Long to indefinite.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen the show's got a really cool aesthetic to it. It's like an ESPN for nerd culture. It's
Yeah.
cool.
We were going with a pardon the interruption via nerd culture. And so Ahmed and I kind of face off on 4 topics on our Monday show, The Scenario, where we kind of battle it out for 4 minutes apiece. The Wednesday show is The Big Picture, where we'll do a review or one large topic discussion. And the Friday show is just a bunch of off-the-cuff stories that we may have missed over the course of the week. And so on Friday, we'll do 8 just little tidbit bite-sized stories. But we normally try to keep things to about 30 to 45 minutes. And we just kind of battle it out on all sorts of nerd issues and how things can shake up the industry, especially as we evolve in streaming and theaters and, mega blockbuster tentpole movies.
Tent poles was referring to boners in pants.
That's it. Thank you. This is the Immature Hour. I forgot. I can swing at that low-hanging fruit.
Get that one lowbrow joke in just to make it legit.
So normally you just hear me giggle on ours, so I'm like, duty. But that's about all I get. I just got to move on. We try to keep it somewhat.
No holds barred here.
Yeah.
I will say I'm a big fan of what they do over there at Yeah, But Seriously. I watch it every time it does come on.
When it does come on?
I'll be at work and I'll put my headphones on and I'll put my phone right here and I'm just watching, pretending like I'm typing on the keyboard. Really not.
So we wanted to have Adam on the podcast this week. You guys do a lot of movie stuff. That's territory that we haven't delved in a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And we absolutely had to talk about Avengers Endgame.
Got to. We still haven't talked about it, so...
okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive in. We're going to do a full... I'm thinking it's going to be about an hour long spoiler talk about Endgame. Now... Me, Sam, and Mark went and saw it last night for the second time. You've seen it
I only saw
at
it
least once, right? Yeah.
Early Sunday morning. I tell you, Sunday between Endgame and then Game of Thrones, it was just an emotional roller coaster of a day. Like, I was exhausted by Sunday night. I slept like a baby, but I was crying all over the place just for multiple reasons. And
it was quite the weekend.
I couldn't hold discussions with people. I was just sitting with my thoughts all day. I was like, do you think that, just break out in a question to somebody? And so it was distracting for sure.
No, I'm not caught up on Game of Thrones, but I can tell you, just for Endgame, the next day, that was all I could think about was, I don't know about you two. The minute somebody said let's go see it again, yes, because I've been trying to see if I can pirate it. I wanted to see it. I think one of my favorite people to listen to about movie reviews when it comes to nerdisms is Kevin Smith. Love Kevin Smith. And he had the best description for Endgame. He said, it's like that
perfect freaking annual.
Oh, yeah.
That you would get that like maxed out with everything in it, like the Secret Wars annual or something like that, and that's what they gave us. That movie was great story and great fan service that we got wrapped up into one, and it all made sense. You know?
They did a great job. Like, I mean, 11 years, total of 22 movies just to wrap this all up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a whole new. I mean, besides the fact that this was all one big continuity of 22 films, but to have a roadmap that kind of fit even that well, it's just that's never been done before. I mean, the closest I would honestly say, and I was having this argument with somebody the other day, was like Back to the Future, maybe like that pieces all fit, the first and second. You know, that was about as close as you got in 3 movies, and that was still hard with the time travel aspect, but.
So what you're telling me is Back to the Future is bullshit?
Bullshit? Are you serious? I love that they pulled all that.
Oh, yeah.
They knew the audience. They knew their audience.
There's so many things that I love about the film. I love that with its 3-hour runtime, 3 hour and 1 minute runtime, every scene is important.
Yeah.
At no point that I think, wow, this is dragging on, let's gonna move on, or this really didn't need to be in it. Like, everything mattered, which was super cool. I mean, like, right from the beginning, like, just little details in the movie are so well done. Like, I like the fact that the beginning of the movie where Nebula and Stark are in the ship, right? And like, they've clearly been there for a while. Their food supply is running out. Like, Stark looks emaciated.
Yeah, like you could tell. Like I could tell that in production mind of looking, they had to have shot that. That's why they did reshoots. Like it said reshoots, but really they were probably shooting the beginning of that movie, so Robert Downey Jr. could lose all that weight to look like that.
Well, I was curious if they actually made him lose weight, if they got a skinny person and then superimposed his face over, or if they just CGI'd the hell out of him. Like they did.
Well, if they CGI'd the hell out
Captain
of him.
America at the end,
That was amazing too.
They said he was 95% CGI, 5% makeup, which I was like, we've been making people look old forever in movies, but
Exactly.
that looked pretty legit. Reminded me of a Joe Biden looking fella sitting over there, Uncle Joe.
That would have been funny if Joe Biden was the one sitting on the bench at the end.
Joe
He said,
Biden is Steve.
I'm Joe Biden.
Steve Rogers double.
I got this Captain America shield. Yeah, I could see him doing something like that. But no, it was as it started, like I started getting a little depressed, and my girlfriend actually started crying because it's over. Like it's yeah, they're gonna have more movies, but that was it's been a long time coming. So
like I know. I guess if we'll start with a breakdown from the top to the bottom.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that they started with a cold open.
Yes.
And like number one, it was to tell that part of the story, but also I guess please the fans a little bit because everybody's pissed like where the fuck was Hawkeye, and so it starts off with Hawkeye's family. You know, that scene when you know what happened, but Hawkeye didn't, and putting yourself in his shoes for 2 seconds, like. I remember being in a theater full of people and everybody just went, oh.
yeah,
Because they all knew exactly, but he had no idea. He was just running by himself.
And it's just super, like, right when the scene starts, like, you know it's about to happen. It's so unsettling, like he's having, like, just a normal day, and you're just like, oh, it's going to happen, isn't it?
They start you off with a really rough cry, and then they go immediately into, like, laughter. Like, oh, okay, look.
Yeah. It was. Someone pointed out to me that was the first time they actually said Hawkeye ever in any of the movies.
Yeah,
That's true. They always call him Barton.
Yeah, he calls Kate, calling his daughter old Kate Hawkeye. That's the first time he's ever said it, which I thought was a good subtle nod to the transition.
Yeah.
If there is one in the future, but
do they call him Ronin at any point in this
No,
movie?
they
no,
don't.
never called him that either.
They just
always called him Barton.
That was the Easter egg. I feel like everybody knew he was Ronin, but they didn't just say it.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
I know in the action figures he's called Ronin, but
Like,
as far as in the movie, no.
My thing with Marvel movies in general, sometimes they just have troubles calling the person what they are.
I mean, I don't think they ever called Scarlett Johansson Scarlet Witch. Black Widow. I'm sorry, Scarlet Witch. Black Widow. They never called any of them really by their main names.
Which I mean, and I understand within the realism of it. I understand. You're trying to keep that aspect there. But like, I love the fact that they, like I said, this movie was fan service for that.
Yeah.
I guess we're moving on from that is into.
It'd be the Stark and Nebula scene where they're just hanging out, trying to survive, playing what's that game called?
Man.
The field goal.
Yeah, y'all remember playing that in middle school?
I do remember playing.
Oh, lunches,
Man.
Paper football.
Lunch in high school.
Not to
Play that.
brag, but I was pretty good back in the day. Yeah.
Totally crushed Nebula at it.
Oh, yeah, she didn't stand a chance.
My thing is just like, okay, number one, Stark. Yeah, you're teaching her how to play paper football, but you realize she has a robotic arm, and so she can set that thing probably to like exactly what it needs to be to kick your ass. Like,
I thought it was
didn't have a
sweet
chance.
that, one, it showed Starks being like calm and collected enough not to panic as they're like, we're about to die. But it kind of accepts it at that point. Like he lays down to take a nap, and she moves into the chair, which I thought was very sweet.
Yeah.
But also it kind of showed how Nebula had never like eased up or ever played like just we're just buying time.
Like even when she won
you know.
like the stupid football game, she was like she didn't know what to do with herself.
Yeah.
It looked like it was super.
yeah, she did. I think I like the scene that you brought up with the moving him to the chair. To me, that also showed a lot of growth in Nebula's character.
Yeah.
Yeah, her character arc's fantastic.
Oh,
Like,
it is.
the growth of her character.
Someone who
too.
never smiles.
Exactly. Like to move this person that she's probably spent like a month with into a chair and then like tuck him in.
Yeah.
Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy never would have fucking did that.
No.
And then we get the
Well, Captain Marvel
Captain
shows
Marvel
up.
rescue, which a side note, I think they used Captain Marvel perfectly. I think there was so much backlash with. There was a lot of concern of like, you can't like if you're gonna kill off Thanos, you can't have this random chick that just showed up a couple months ago at a film to be the one to do it. Like he's got to be dealt with another way. And so like I thought that they did a good job of showing that she's really powerful, but she wasn't like
The end all be all.
yeah.
I feel with Captain Marvel, the explanation they gave at the beginning made sense for the whole entire reason for her not being in there, because there's like when she says there's a lot more there's a lot more places out there like you that need my help.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they're like, why haven't you helped sooner? It's like, because you guys are here. It's one of those things like the movie made a point why she didn't need to be there the whole time.
Exactly. Good. You're gonna say something.
Oh no, I thought they did use Captain Marvel. I thought very well throughout it. But then I think my favorite scenes or segment in the entire movie is when they bring the ship back. Stark and everyone gets off. Rocket and Nebula have a little scene together. They're just sitting down on the steps and holding hands, which I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
You don't need to say anything. Everyone's been through some shit. It was a good little scene. It reminded me of when Drax kind of pets Rocket after after Groot gets killed in the first one. And I thought it was something just similar. Like Rocket doesn't use his words to really comfort ever in any of the movies. He's more of an insults guy, but that's as much affection as he's going to show. Much affection as Nebula's going to show. No words need to be spoken. But then Tony going off on Cap, I thought was awesome.
That was amazing. That the way, because it made sense and didn't make sense all at the same time.
It was a nice little, like, I guess closest thing you can get to a summary from Avengers 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And now stepping into 4. Like, it was 10 words, 10 sentences that really summarized it.
Yeah.
Like having them be at each other's. Well, Stark being upset with Captain America for not telling Stark about his what happened to his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Civil War.
Yeah, in Civil War, and then them losing in the battle because Stark tells he's like, what if we lose? And then Cap's like, well, we'll do that too together. And so just to see them lose, and not only lose but lose friends, it was super believable. Like just the amount of anger that he had about the situation. Yeah, no, I thought that was a really good scene too.
See, I like the part when Tony was getting off the ship and he was immediately confronted by Cap, and he was just like, "I lost the kid,"
Yeah.
because like Spider-Man's my favorite superhero of all time.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That shit hurt.
Yeah, and man, when Infinity War and he was gone, I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm gonna walk out of this theater right now. And I knew it was coming too. And
But they had some sweet scenes together
Oh,
in
God,
Infinity
yeah.
War
They did.
and in Game.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, I gotta say, like he's my
He's
favorite
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. He is.
Yeah.
Like, he's amazing.
It's like how Michael Keaton is Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Holland is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Mr. Stark, remember when we got all dusty?
So genuine.
There was a scene. Okay, at the end, we'll come back to it, but
Yeah.
something else with Tom Holland that I was like, he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He secured it for me. But no, that opening scene that kind of summarizes it, then going off to kill Thanos. But the Tony Stark Cap scene.
Well, you just grazed over that. Going off to kill Thanos,
Going off
just
to kill
grazed
Thanos,
over.
We're gonna go off that again. But
The biggest thing,
before
the
that,
biggest.
before that, the anger, the prep, the frustration, the try to correct it through sheer force of will.
Well,
I guess
it felt like the first 15 minutes of that movie was almost like every stage of dealing with death in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Minus they get their revenge. Well, Thor does.
Yeah, Thor does for sure.
Like, which is also another thing in this movie. They behead Thanos in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I timed it.
What
I got timed it. Looked at it. It was 16 minutes and 23 seconds into the movie. They behead Thanos.
Like the night I went with my best friend, and like that when that scene happens where the Thanos just cuts his head off, and we're just like, what? And then like the 5 year later title card comes up, and we're like, what is this movie? 'Cause, like like complete subverting expectations.
Like,
incredibly.
I don't know about y'all, but like, did y'all watch all the trailers or did y'all stay
No.
away from everything?
I
watched
watched the
two of
first
them.
one.
Okay, I watched the like first teaser and then nothing else. Someone had mentioned a time jump, but I didn't know for how long. But like I had nothing. When 5 came up, I was like,
Yeah.
5 what? Like it was. I felt kind of dumb because I was like, it said 5. I was like, 5 years? Like what? Later.
Oh.
What?
It was like-
I still
What's
couldn't-
gonna happen now?
What happened? Is it?
Stones are gone.
Like
Yeah, it was-
the craziest thing, I remember sitting in the theater because I was the first showing on Thursday, and everybody's like 5. Like everybody looked at the 5. Oh. Like
Yeah.
you heard this, like you heard the whole like 150 to 200 people in that theater go, like gasp all at once. Like we're going there.
And then
Okay.
Cap's running an AA meeting.
Yeah.
With
Which-
Anthony Russo. Or,
Which I want to say this. Last year's Marvel thing they did at San Diego Comic-Con made 100% sense.
What do they do?
They
Is that
did a
the
therapy.
photo?
They did
Oh,
a
no.
therapy group session for everybody that's died and talk about what their problems were at San Diego Comic-Con.
Got
And
it.
so all of a sudden, the first scene we see 5 years later is a group therapy session
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
trying to move on. You know, so like I thought that was a cool like way they market tie-in.
Well, I remember seeing a photo of the Russo brother who was in that scene sitting in a room with like a couple of empty chairs, and he said like the message was hidden somewhere in this photo that no one really guessed back when we were still trying to figure out what the title of the 5th movie or this movie would be. But it was that scene. It was him sitting in those clothes around a bunch of like just folding chairs in that room, which I was like, oh, it's kind of clever that they can take that picture and. You know, that was in the movie. It wasn't. It just looked like a random behind the scenes something or other.
I think the cool in that episode, in that scene, 2 Easter eggs. We got one was we had one of the directors,
Yep.
one of the Russo brothers, talking about that. He was also the first openly homosexual character. 2, the creator of the cosmic universe of Marvel was also in that scene. He's the bald guy that has a line, which that was like a big controversy because he was very ticked off. He didn't get any credit, and then finally the Russo brothers, hey bud, here's your time to shine.
Yeah.
So
One thing I appreciate about that scene is when Captain America's talking about how like we have to move on, and he's saying how like he got iced in the 40s right after he met the love of his life, but you have to move on, and it's interesting because he's saying these words of like encouragement and like we should all like move on and get past these things. But you can tell he doesn't believe it. He's got like a moment where he just sits and like he looks off like he's thinking about Peggy, which I thought was a really nice subtle hint at what happens towards the end of the film.
I was really hoping Cap wasn't going to be leading that group, that Cap was going to have to be going to that group, because I was like, man, look, that after so long of that much just, kick to the nuts, I was just ready for him to snap. Like, Tony's angry at him. He lost half the universe. Peggy has died. He's lost 70 years of his life. Like, he's had nothing but bad juju all the way around. I was ready for him to be like just angry. Like, just go a little angry. Stop being the super guy.
And I feel like we got that at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But for me in that moment, like, Cap was being Cap. Like, that's who he is. That's who that character is, that no matter what, he has to be a strong leader, even when he can't. He emotionally feels like he can't be. He still is.
Well, no, I think it did great showing the way he went, the way Tony went, and then the way Thor goes. Yeah. So you had like 3 dimensions there of how you and even Scarlett Johansson. How she
the rug really brought the room together.
Huh?
The rug really brought the room together.
I loved it, but once they you start seeing how everyone's just kind of coping.
Yes, coping. Yeah. And then we get the scene where Scott Lang comes back.
Yeah, which was like the way that they did that. I forgot what's the story tick they call that, but the way they did it was so nonchalant. A rat running across, flipping a switch. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah, it was a little convenient, but at least it was like there's like a 5-year time gap. So I let it slide. I guess.
I'm surprised they didn't make it a mouse just so it'd be like, we're under Disney.
Oh yeah.
Mouse saved the universe. Like, I don't know. I feel like they missed an opportunity there.
And then a random what's that guy's name? The guy who played the security guard was
Ken, Dr. Ken.
Dr. Ken.
Yeah. Well, because the directors of Infinity War and Endgame also used to direct Community. So
okay, didn't know that.
But the chick in the elevator scene with Captain America and Tony Stark.
When they're back in the 40s looking for the Tesseract.
Was also in Community.
Yeah. That was what's her name? She was on like Talking Dead a lot. Yeah. Yvette Nicole Brown.
Yeah. But
But yeah, so we get Scott Lang back, and he doesn't know what's going on.
I like it when he does like find it, because I was like, oh, if they killed his daughter, no, I'm not about this life.
I love that scene,
and that was very well done.
I also just like the realization, because he's worried that she's gone when he's looking at the gravestones for the vanished, and he sees his own name instead.
Yeah, and he was just like, but I'm not going. But
Yeah.
he kind of realizes.
Yeah, because he was only gone for 5 hours in his time, right?
in his time. But did y'all put that together the
Yes.
first time or the second time, that he hadn't been gone that long, that this was something?
I think the first time when I saw it, whenever he was walking and he looked at the post, like, what is this? That's when I put it together. Oh, like that was like a split second for him.
Well, I was curious because that was something I didn't understand in Ant-Man and the Wasp, that Michelle Pfeiffer has gray hair. She looks like she's been there a long while.
Yeah.
She had been missing for 30 years or something. But I was like, what was she eating? What was she drinking in this place? So I was kind of curious of how she was surviving in the quantum realm there.
She was surviving by movie magic.
By movie magic, but it turns out she was only there for, in her time, maybe a couple of weeks. So that kind of changed things up. But they never explained that in Ant-Man and the Wasp. They never explained it until he says that I was only there for 5 hours. So that was a nice little, convenient
Way to
thing they can tweak.
convenient plot device.
Yeah, it really was. I didn't like, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, I get where we're going now. I see it. Like, I thought they were gonna say like, well, I knew it was somehow gonna do time travel, but
Hot Tub Time Machine.
yeah, even Hot Tub Time Machine did it.
Yeah, hot tub time machine.
God damn.
So I guess, and then we move on to. So from there, they decide, that's what Scott Langwood tells them about time travel. And I was like, what are quantum realms? Do you guys do anything? Do you understand quantum physics? Yeah, as a I study it for a hobby. Why?
Yeah.
Like, what if she said that? I was just like, of course Black Widow does. And like, no joke anywhere. She's like being serious. I was like, yeah, of course you do.
Oh, I thought she was saying it as a joke. Like, just are you serious? Like,
Having to make
look at me, I'm
conversation,
losing my
yeah.
mind here. I got white hair and the red. Like,
Like for me, for a second, the reason I thought it was serious is because I thought it was a throwback to Iron Man 2. Whenever she had to be Tony Stark's assistant and kind of understand what was going on with Tony Stark, and he would have understandings of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I look too deep into things.
no, she also knew how to like in Civil War when she is with Steve Rogers in the Apple Store checking what's on that that thumb drive, and she's able to hack into through computer magic, blah blah blah. She says that whoever wrote this algorithm is slightly smarter than me, slightly. And it's Zola that you realize did it. So, I mean, she is very intelligent, but quantum physics is, I don't know.
It is.
Yes,
what
I
it is.
dabble.
I'm not a
I
rocket
dabble
surgeon,
in
I don't
this. A rocket surgeon.
So at this point, they decide that it's time travel is possible. They need to build a time machine, and they need somebody really smart to do it. So, Sam, where do we go from here in the movie?
Man, we go see Tony Stark, the biggest brain there is. Well, okay, second biggest brain. Second biggest.
You kind of combine two things there.
Yeah, that's right. When I see Tony Stark walking out of his little lake cabin lodge,
Little
and he was walking to it, and I was like, "Oh no, they didn't. They did." And he says Morgan. I was just like, "They did." I was pretty happy about it, but I was also really sad because I was just like, I don't like where they're going with this. I don't like when like you involve like kids and stuff because that scares me because I know I'm gonna be the biggest baby in the room, especially if something bad happens. I don't like people watching me cry because I'm a pretty loud cry. You can hear like.
I could hear you yesterday.
Oh yeah, man.
He was crying pretty hard yesterday.
No, I wasn't. No,
that wasn't hard. That's the thing.
No, man, I'm a
My
real
eyes
man.
are just peeing.
Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
Some of my,
it's okay.
it's
okay,
allergy
Sam.
season.
I love you 3000.
Oh, man.
Okay, so we're gonna just jump straight into that. Cool.
No,
yeah.
no,
Why
no.
not?
That little girl was a hell of a little actress.
She did great.
She
She
did
was
great.
amazing. She was adorable. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be rough when
Is it
Whenever,
juice pops
whenever
or
the end
something?
game comes.
when the end comes. I was like, oh, it's gonna be rough.
Which, one thing I noticed, this is a neat little callback to Age of Ultron in that scene. It's subtle, it's nothing said, but in Age of Ultron, at the end of it, Captain America and Tony Stark are talking about, what are they going to do now? And Tony's talking about maybe settling down with Pepper, having a kid, living on a farm. Which I thought was interesting because I didn't even piece that together that, like, that's exactly what he did.
Except Lake Tahoe.
take a page out of Barton's book.
Lake Tahoe was way more beautiful than a farm, but
But yeah, like that same kind of, like, there was a lot of continuity that I noticed in the movie that they...
Well, even in Endgame, in Infinity War, the first scene of Tony and Pepper when they're walking and she's like, I had a dream. It was so real. We had a kid.
Yeah.
We named him after your eccentric uncle, Morgan. Like they even pulled it from there. And for creating a new character, Tony and Pepper in the comics have never had a kid. So I was like, it actually, everyone seemed to accept it very well.
Well, I think people accepted it the minute that the director said this is not based off of any comic book. And the minute that comic book fans started realizing that the MCU in general is a different offshoot of the multiverse of, and so they're able to accept anything. You could have fed them like Rocket. Rocket wasn't a raccoon; he's a rabbit, and I think they would have been okay with it.
That's like in the comics, like Drax is actually a badass, but in this show, he's like still kind of a badass, but he's more of a goofy, like a comedic relief character. Like, why is Gamora? Like, that was hilarious. But in the comics, like, he wouldn't say that. He's Drax the Destroyer. He earned that name for a reason.
So we go from there. He talks to his daughter, and then they sit there. Then all of a sudden, our heroes show up, and Tony's very much family man. He doesn't want to lose what he has.
Yeah, kind of just like shuns them off. Like, I don't want to lose what I have. I've got my second chance right here. What you're saying about time travel, and he made it pretty funny. He said, what was like some sort of like Ulysses paradox or something like that.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, there's some sort of weird name, paradox or paradigm shift. Like, you don't want to mess with that. And gave them the clear warning, and just was like, no, I don't want to be a part of this.
So then they go see the smartest brain.
Then they go see the
biggest brain.
biggest brain.
The biggest brain, yeah.
Which I was thrilled that Professor Hulk is in a film.
Yes.
Super happy about that. Like,
You want a picture? You want a picture?
You want a
You
picture?
sure you don't want a picture with him? He's Ant-Man.
I'm looking at the
He's
kid
Ant-Man.
saying no. He's shaking his head. I can see it. It's right there. Yeah.
Take the goddamn phone.
I liked that Professor Hulk is in it, but it also kind of sucked that Hulk didn't really get to have his rematch with Thanos.
I was okay with that.
Yeah.
When
bugged me
you
a
have
little bit.
such a massive collective, I was okay with that.
Well, like, I found it odd that, like, so the Hulk's supposed to be, like, this really strong, like, brooding character who's, like, you know, just demolishes anything in his path, essentially. And so I find it weird that his arc goes from being, like, super ragey and, you know, just violent to he's, like, at peace and he doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to touch anything. He thinks,
And
like...
he eats a giant 20-pound bowl of eggs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that till
Gotta get strong, bro.
Till last
Gotta
night.
eat
Gotta-
that protein.
Yeah, man.
You had a bowl of eggs and then like the pancakes. You had stacks of pancakes. That one of them was rolled up.
And I'm pretty sure that
At
was
the top.
sausage
Yeah.
like stuffed in there.
Yeah. Man's gotta eat.
Breakfast of Champions.
I think it's like, oh yeah, we take a picture. Hey kids, hey, you know. And then all of a sudden, when they walk away, Hulk out, you know, like leaning straight into it. It's like, dude, I'm funny.
What
They
was
loved
that?
me.
Did any of y'all get a little upset that they just like skipped over that really quickly, or that him and Nat are cool, and
I'm glad that they got rid of that.
that all of that just like progressed, you know, and just
I'm glad they kind of like grazed over. It's like, okay, so we kind of figured out, they figured that shit out in 5 years. They had 5 years to figure it out. And also they just had this massive moment that happened to where like that seemed
inconsequential.
inconsequential. So like, yeah, they kind of just grazed over it, but in context for everything that's happened, it really probably didn't matter to them
Yeah.
anymore.
I'm going to be completely real with you.
Be real.
I totally didn't even notice that.
I'm just like, you know,
I completely forgot about it.
I honestly did too. It was pointed out to me. They're like, they didn't even mention it though. Like it was in 2 or 3 movies. And then
Right.
They're just like, no, we're just gonna not. You know, we're done with that. Like, don't worry. So I was like, that
I
is kind of
remember
weird.
that being kind of a big deal, though, amongst the fan
It
base.
started
like,
a whole
like,
controversy in Age of
Yeah.
Ultron. So
Oh gosh, well,
he's like, I'm a monster, and she's like, I can't have kids. I'm a monster too. And they're like, no, that's not equivalent exchange there. That doesn't work.
let me see. The other thing is, let me see. I think it was it Infinity War? Whenever he popped up and Captain America's there, and
Yeah.
and then Sam goes, "Wow, this is going to get awkward."
This is like they keep bringing it back, and they're like, we're not gonna do anything with it.
They're-
She's
okay.
dead. Well, he does kind of he mourns after that, but we may have to fast forward through.
So we
I
get
think we're only 20 minutes into this movie.
no. Yeah, we're only 20 minutes in. We got 26 minutes left. So we meet Tony. We meet the Hulk. The Hulk's Professor Hulk.
He
We
gives 2 tacos to
get-
Scott Lang. That
Yeah.
scene. Oh, beautiful.
So
We also
Tony figures out how to do time travel and says shit, and his daughter says shit right after, and he has that father moment of like, damn it, that was great.
Yeah. No, I loved all the moments with him and his kid.
Yeah,
It just seems so like genuine and.
I love you 3000.
Oh, my God.
Oh yeah.
It was like, well, she loves me 3000. You're like the 500 to 600.
Even the
range.
parts with Pepper there and Gwyneth Paltrow, who's
Oh, God.
normally flat and just not really anything there. I actually was like, she had some good lines. Like,
Yeah, she did. I felt like
I know you don't want to do this, but you're going to.
their marriage seemed more real than most marriages you see on camera. Like, you know,
even after surviving all the robots and death and everything, it still seemed more real than some of the other.
I remember reading a little article. It was like moments in the movie where if you have to go use the bathroom, this is an okay part. Like and it brings up something Eric said earlier in this podcast where he was just like every moment in the movie like fit perfectly, and like that was one of the moments between like Pepper and Tony when they were talking, and I was like, no, that's a great moment. Why would you want to miss that?
Yeah.
Like she said all the right things. Like you're not gonna rest. Like you're gonna keep going forward.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna nip this in the bud.
That may have to be another topic of what section can you go pee at, like, because honestly, the introduction of Professor
At
Hulk,
the very
that's
beginning
one.
of the movie.
Go run during Professor Hulk's scene, because you're gonna see him.
Yeah.
And it's just a joke about taking the picture, but that'd be one. I guess it's not essential.
Oh yeah. So like, okay, so we get there. Tony figures it out. Pepper kind of says you're a hero first, and father second, kind of thing. It's like in your heart you're not going to be able to sleep. So we get a sequence which could have been a P sequence if you wanted to of Scott Lang getting turned into different ages of Scott Lang, baby Scott Lang,
Old man Scott Lang. Yeah.
Like I feel like they just used they used the Ant-Man as the butt of most jokes in this movie. You know, is great. And then finally Tony shows up, and Cap and Tony have their loving, touching reunion of, all right, man, I love you, you love me.
Yeah.
You know,
Here's your shield back.
here's your
Don't
shield
tell
back.
anybody about it.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And then they figure out the time heist, which now we go from the conclusion of Infinity War 1.5 into a time heist movie, where all of a sudden now we're like a bank heist, you know?
Yeah.
How did we feel about the mechanics of time travel in this movie?
So I thought it was weird how like they could go back to a certain time. They still followed the rules of like don't interact with like your former selves, but
No,
like,
they didn't.
No, that was the whole thing. Was that they were like,
They do.
That was the whole thing. Is
Yeah.
they do.
right, but it was something that kind of like irked me a little bit, and this is like way later, like how if you go in the past and you like let's say someone kills you, and then that obviously means like okay, your past self dead, that means future self bye-bye.
the Nebula thing.
No, in
Yeah,
this
the
one,
that-
Nebula thing was.
That's what kind of confused me.
oh
a
no,
little
this
bit.
one is it's all linear.
Right.
Still, and believe me, we had to draw this out the other night because it kind of confused me. And I wanted to go back to listen to Hulk's explanation of it, but it seems like you are living your life. It is on a straight line. They are going back, stealing an item, going back to where they start, using that item, returning item to said back time, so that it keeps going linear. The Ancient One says if you mess it up, it'll start an alternate reality. Unless you put it back exactly at the right moment, then it all keeps going linear. The one time that changes, though, is at the end with Captain America. That kind of caused a little
yeah.
controversy. That the Russo brothers actually put out a statement, I think, today addressing it.
Oh, really?
Talking about, Cap lived in an alternate reality. He's the only one. And when he shows up on that bench, he doesn't use his last Pym particle thing to jump back to the present. He uses it to show up on that bench. But he was in an alternate reality with two Captain Americas in that time.
Okay, that makes
And
sense.
then he jumps
Oh,
back
okay, all right.
to his time.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, it's
so
because like to
Do
me
you think
they
they had it planned like that, or like after after it released, they're like, oh shit?
Well,
with how
they-
much
plot.
with how much Kevin Feige makes sure that these movies make 100% sense, that was planned.
Yeah, but it opens it up. And they even say, well, yeah, but what happened during that time would be interesting to see. You can tell where they leave things open for the What If series that they're going to do on Disney Plus.
Oh
and
yeah, it's
some
like
of the others.
it's one of those things where it's like you have to remember, no matter what, we have a multiverse whenever it comes to the freaking Marvel comics, so that opens up the multiverse.
I would not doubt if they start calling the series like this is 616 universe. This is whatever
Yeah.
universe this is. They're going to have to start doing that if they start playing with other series and stuff. Because where were the Defenders during all this? You know?
Exactly.
Aren't they part of Phase 4? I
don't
can't
know.
remember.
No,
No.
the Defenders are there whenever. I mean, they had in the. Well, I can get on a whole nother topic, but the Avengers Tower was in one of the seasons of Daredevil. So now we're doing the time heist, and they figure out where all the stones are. You know, I really like that.
Conveniently, 3 of them are.
Oh, we totally skipped over one whole thing.
What's that?
They had to get the team back together.
Oh, Thor.
Oh, dude. The
How do we
greatest
miss
reveal
this?
of the whole movie.
It's like if me and Eric became one person, it would be Thor.
I love how,
It'd be
love-
Thor and Infinity.
I love how
the
Thor,
Endgame.
like, he went from Chris Hemsworth rocking bod to me. My bod.
Yes.
It was just
You look like melting ice cream.
the premiere night, just the collective. Oh no!
He went from like the god of thunder to like Dionysus, you know. Like,
Well, it made sense. I was actually kind of curious if they were going to stick with the Ragnarok kind of Thor.
Taika Waititi definitely rubbed off on, like, Thor.
Apparently, Chris Hemsworth was like lobbying for it to
yeah,
be
that's,
like that.
yeah, that was like his thing.
He said
so
he was
no-
getting bored of his character until they changed his character. Like
Well,
that.
and that and the whole thing is like Chris Hemsworth in general is a way better comedic actor,
He is.
Yeah.
and like he knows that, and so he's like, hey, let's do a funny thing and make me fat. By the way, Thor's fat and it's beautiful.
He's got the
Now
rockin'
the
dad
best,
bod.
the best thing is like the reason why is because he's has PTSD from Thanos.
Yeah.
But the best thing of it, which I caught last night when we watched it, was whenever Tony Stark said, "Hey, get out of my way, Lebowski."
Oh yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
guess it the first time.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, they do that." I was
Yeah.
like,
and it fit. It was, how much crap can you take before you just kind of snap and get a little depressed. And it's funny that it's Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, who in Ragnarok had been hiding for 1,000 years and just drinking, is like, well, we're not really going to pull him out of this funk. Like, we've all been there.
yeah, it's like it's like the roles are reversed now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And I think of all the people from the MCU, Thor probably had the most guilt and weight on him, just because had he went for the head immediately, he would have been. It would have turned out differently.
Right.
Yeah.
It was an interesting depiction of him, even later on when he can't face Natalie Portman or his mother or any of the others. Like he
Oh,
has
yeah.
severe
He has, like,
PTSD,
severe, it's
anxiety, self doubt.
I actually enjoyed that scene between him and his mother, though. That was
Yeah, it
really
was
good.
really good.
I like
I
that
haven't
she
seen Thor: The
knew.
Dark World, but like I feel like I don't need to watch it now.
You
don't.
Yeah, you don't.
No.
So now we're at the time heist. So we do the time heist. We figure out he has to go to the Dark World, which this is the best way to do fan service. Is saying, hey, we're going to bring you back to the greatest hits.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
yeah.
So it's like they bring you to the dance sequence in Guardians to get that stone. They bring you to
That was great.
they bring you to Thor:
Who's
The
an
Dark
idiot.
World, which is crazy. Is they bring you to like the worst MCU movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like, wow, you do have to make sure you know your MCU movies to do it. And then the moment when they all figured out, wait, where are all three stones at one point at this time?
At one time, 3 of them are in New York.
Which I loved that. I'm skipping forward a little bit, but I know we're pressed for time. But, I like that you realize that like the Doctor Strange crew was doing stuff during that 2012 event.
Oh yeah, he was doing
everything.
surgery at the hospital down the street. And it's like, I was sitting there. I love that they brought in the ancient one.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ancient one explained way better in this movie. She knew Doctor Strange was the chosen one way before in 2012. So she said, no matter what, no, okay, that makes sense. Then you take this.
Yeah.
And she gave it. Hulk went after that stone. Gave it to Hulk. Within that whole series, we get, we learn what America's ass is. Like whatever Scott likes, like, oh, Cap, the Iron Man says, man, that did nothing for your ass, those pants. He goes, no, Cap, that's America's ass. And then the fight scenes happens, and
Goddamn right.
that is America's ass.
Okay, I was actually a little confused by the fight scene a few seconds in, and I think the reason it doesn't interfere with anything, like you're not supposed to interact with your past selves, is Loki's gone missing. No, Loki's gone missing. The Cap from that timeline thinks he's looking at Loki, who's transformed. So I was like, oh, well, that fits. Like, he never realized he just fought a time-traveling version of himself.
Yeah.
But right before that, they turned the most controversial moment in Marvel's comic book history into one of the most comedic moments. in cinematic for Marvel, whenever they had Cap say "Hail Hydra."
Oh yeah, that was
What
well
a clever
played.
callback.
Can't believe that worked.
I know, but that was so perfect. I imagine the writer
Easter egg.
who like realized that would have worked was like,
That's just lazy writing.
no, it
Oh,
fit
no.
so perfect on
Lazy
so
writing
many
was
levels.
just doing the elevator fight scene again.
Yeah,
that would have
I-
been lazy.
I was really ready for him to say, "Does anyone want to get off before we start?" And instead, I was like, "Oh, that's great."
When
I
they
did
said
love it.
when they
He's got
said that, I was
cheeky
like,
ass smile when he walks out the elevator, like he fucking knows.
like I just remember sitting with that same theater, the opening night atmosphere. Whenever that was said, everybody laughed so loud, and some kid goes, "That is brilliant!" You hear him yell that, you know.
No, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
That was great. After that one, where do we go? Oh well, okay.
We're dealing with our first death here.
We're dealing with our first death here. Yeah. While I get it and it works, I really feel bad for Scarlett Johansson's character.
She's getting a movie too, though.
She is, but it's got to be set in the 80s.
Okay.
But
Better take place at Budapest.
I think that's what they're.
I need Budapest
But I am curious of just the whole thing. Her whole character just kind of seems like she was there just to get killed.
That's AC and I disagree
Okay.
because in Avengers,
That's
not who Black Widow is.
No, she does have an arc,
Like her arc, like
but her
that,
arc's more like a bump.
It is. It's more like a
More
bump.
like a
I think
little-
like it
little
started
bruise or
to me.
something.
The arc started to really take off in Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
and then she grew into what happened with it with Age of Ultron, with the way her relationship was, because she actually had a relationship with somebody, and then once she comes to Endgame, she's a leader now.
Yeah.
Because she's more of the leader than Cap is at this point. And so she sacrifices herself for the greater good, which Black Widow and Avengers never would have done.
Yeah, but it was. I'm glad you're the leader for 2.5 seconds before you have to kill yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was
And
just kind of
At
a.
the same time, though, who else would have been able to do it?
Like, it didn't
Like,
make
what
sense
other
for
two
have
people would have
Barton,
been able to go there and get that
like
stone?
Rocket, but in the same instance, it would have been Rocket and what's her face, and they would have had to. Then they wouldn't have a device to bring Thanos back in the
Yeah.
mix.
Rocket and Nebula.
Yeah.
And they weren't even that close though, because it has to be
They were
somebody
holding.
that you love.
That you love. No, that's why those two work, and I get that. But it's just. I was
It's
really
just like
hoping it was going to
convenience.
be. They were going to find a loophole. There was going to be, since y'all both jumped off the cliff, like, that counts. Or you have to sacrifice an ability, or
You have to- Or
something.
you have to sacrifice a life for a life. They didn't say love this time; they said a life for a life.
Yeah.
Right.
A soul for a
soul.
soul.
A soul for a soul.
Yeah.
So what if they would have just thrown Red Skull off the side?
Wait, that reminds me when Cap goes back to bring the stones back.
He does
I
meet-
want to see the scene where he sees Red Skull.
Yeah.
They addressed that one today too. They do meet.
Oh, do they?
But it's not a. Red Skull's a completely different
Okay.
thing at that
No,
point.
completely different person. Which, by the way, the guy from The Walking Dead, that
Ross Marquand.
Mars Marquand, when I saw him at Wizard World Con, I said, "Dude, you are an amazing Red Skull." He goes, "Thank you." Everybody gives me so much shit for it.
No, I thought it was awesome.
He's like, "You're an amazing Red
Have you
Skull."
ever watched that guy do impressions on
Yeah.
YouTube? He's amazing.
yeah.
He's great. I think he's making a push to be Moon Knight.
Ooh,
Oh.
that would work.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. That's his. He's been kind of throwing out some stuff for that. Anyway,
All right, so ScarJo, Black
She
Widow,
bites
bites
it
it.
to give herself for the Soul Stone. I thought it was good end of story arc. You do bring up valid points to kind of like just like, well, wow, she just bit the dust like that. Well, I was like, okay, we're still going to see her in a movie.
yeah. No.
We couldn't kill Barton because the payoff with his family makes more.
The payoff does make more, but you also know now that he has just called Kate Bishop Hawkeye. So you know, like, there's someone that's going to continue that.
Continue
and I was
that
like,
line.
oh, this will be sweet if Scarlett's like training Kate to be the new Hawkeye. Like there's a continuation.
yeah,
now I want
now.
it that.
There's all of that.
That's a good
but,
one.
you know, but I was like, we can still work. We can make it work. We can make it work. Because I do like the new Hawkeye comics they're both called Hawkeye. It's kind of the running joke of like which one. And like assassins are trying to kill Kate, even though they're really looking for Barton. And so, I don't know. It's a big running gag in it.
So I'm making the executive decision now because we were going to finish the podcast in an hour. So I'm making the executive decision that this is going to be the immature hour and whatever.
Oh, I was gonna say,
an annual.
or part
It's an
one
annual.
of
Just like-
of a 2-part.
No, this is going to be just like. Actually, you know what? That's
Going
probably
off the cuff.
we're going off the cuff. So we're going just like Avengers Endgame is. We're going to make this an annual,
Cool.
and we're going to make this a double packed house immature hour.
Extra double stuff.
Double stuff.
Extra pack.
Double stuff in game.
Man, someone brought some orders.
So we dealt with Scarlet Joe,
Wait, also, before that,
who was my get out of jail free card for a long time.
Oh, that was it?
And then I met her. I actually met her in Lafayette.
oh yeah,
Yeah, when she was dating Ryan Reynolds and they were in town. I met her at Legends downtown whenever they were trying to hide from KATC news crew.
how was that?
Nice.
Yeah.
I said, hey, you want me to buy your guys a drink? They're like, oh, no, we're good. Okay, it's cool. I was like, where y'all guys from? You don't look like you're from here. And they like kind of gave me a look. I'm like, I know who the fuck you are. What do you want to drink?
We had Chris Evans at our bar once in Baton Rouge. I managed a bar in Baton Rouge for 5 years. He was in shooting something. I can't remember. But a buddy of mine got to buy his drinks for him, and he was all excited. But my friend is Shane, is a big comic book nerd. And he was like, no, man, I got to pick up the Human Torch's tab. But that was the only Marvel movie he had done at the time. It's like, man, you bought Captain America drinks, son. But
So
different time.
So everybody, moment of silence for Black Widow, for Natasha, who finally learned their dad's name.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting little sliver of.
It's like daughter of Ivan.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, and then she says later, it's like, yeah, I don't even know my dad.
Yeah.
I don't know who my dad is.
So then we get the scene with Rhodey and Nebula. When
Yeah.
they go to Morag, I think it was Morag to get
Morag.
the stone from Quill.
Yeah, so the dude's an idiot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I still sing that song on the daily.
Yeah,
But I
I
love
know, you were
the-
singing it next to us in the theater.
Yeah, man.
But I love that scene turns into Thanos finding out that they are time traveling, trying to get the Infinity Stones. He also finds out all that information about. Well, he finds out he gets all the stones eventually.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
He puts that together really quickly, which
Yeah, but he's also a titan.
he is. He's actually. I mean, it wasn't like it can be drawn together. It wasn't that
Oh yeah, it's like he sits there and then like you realize, oh, okay, so I do it. And I think his reaction of when he sees himself getting beheaded, I thought he'd be a little bit more mad, but he wasn't like, no, I
he's
achieved my
just like,
goal.
yep.
I achieved my goal. I
Destiny
don't care.
fulfilled.
Destiny fulfilled. You know, it's like I did what I got to do. But like these people are trying to undo it. No, they ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm Thanos. I wonder like how big it is.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Thanos hangs dong.
So at this point, with that point in the movie, we're actually 2 hours and 15 minutes into Endgame.
Yeah.
By the time they get all the stones. Oh, and we skipped over the going back into.
I was about to say,
1970s.
there's they realize they need more Pym particles.
Yes.
So they take the last one that they have and go back to, or Cap and Stark go back to the 70s? Yeah, the 70s.
1970.
We get our last Stan Lee cameo.
It was April. I don't remember the exact date, but 1970.
Yeah. We get that.
We get that
sweet little
Stan Lee
cameo.
Make
and,
love, not war.
And I liked that Tony met his dad.
Yeah.
They got to have that. You get the
Last father-son moment.
Yeah. I love it. He's like, thank you for everything.
That you done for
He's
this
done for this country.
The thing is, and then we have Chris Evans hiding and realizing he walked into Peggy's office,
yeah.
and it says Margaret Carter, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. on it, and then like he sees her, and like that longing that Chris Evans had on his face of just like I just want to walk in there.
Well, I think that's it. Do you think that's when he made the decision, like, we have time travel, I gotta drop this stone off, but when I come back,
So they said he went back to the 1950s
yeah.
by the cars. But is that the moment where he just made that decision?
Oh, I
to
don't
do
know.
it?
I'm kind of curious because they do have a gap there that he can't fill. They never explained who she ends up marrying and having a family with. In what was it, Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Yeah. They never explained it or named somebody. So, it could just be they laid low. Yeah.
Lived off the grid.
Yeah. Or she was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she never reveals who her husband is, and she
And
keeps
maybe
that
that's the
separate,
reason.
and that's why.
Maybe that's the reason the TV show got canceled.
Yeah.
It's like,
That'd
oh
be
wait,
the best reason to be like, well, we have something we're going to do here, so.
so we got to stop it.
But I don't know. Then we go into timelines and alternate realities and yada, yada, yada.
But bringing back up the TV show, that's when we get Jarvis. And then Jarvis just happens to make a little guest appearance.
Which I was glad his character
Yeah.
got to.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was actually the Jarvis on the TV show.
Television show, yeah. Yep.
So that was a cool little.
So we get that. They get the Tesseract. So grabbing the Tesseract then undoes what happens to Loki.
No.
No.
No?
That
So Loki's still
happens
gone.
in some kind of alternate.
Gotcha. That's why we get a Loki TV series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
I thought the Loki TV series, because we were asking about that as well. I think it's literally like young Loki, like I don't know, teenage Loki. It's going to be over points of his development,
Okay.
or just like young Indiana Jones
Okay.
kind of deal.
That makes
But no, he's dead.
Loki
Yeah,
dead.
in that timeline, and like
Yeah,
the
Loki's
main,
dead.
he's dead. Scarlett Johansson's dead.
Gamora's dead.
Gamora's dead. Heimdall is dead. Like,
Yeah.
there are certain ones that. Oh,
People
Vision
dead.
is dead.
Vision's dead.
Yeah. So there are a few that they're just not coming back.
Yeah. So we get that. Stones back to the present.
And then they realize that Scarlet is.
Scarlet
Black
Joe's
Widow's
dead.
missing.
Black Widow's dead. And then
I'm missing. Yeah, dead.
And then, so this is the part where the only thing I had wrong with Endgame, right? So in Infinity War, Thanos had to go to that special realm and have them make this special gauntlet to be able to hold the Infinity Stones.
Stark
Iron
technology
Man
just-
can
Yeah,
somehow,
it's good
with Stark technology, build a gauntlet that not only can fit Iron Man's hand, but can grow to the size of the Hulk's hand.
That's nanotech, bro. That's
Yeah.
nanotech.
Okay, I can get with nanotech, but holding the Infinity Stones, you had to have the supernatural power to do it. And all of a sudden, they're saying like, no, Tony Stark can do it because he's Tony Stark.
I never really took it as that the gauntlet had to be something cosmic to hold it. I just took it as it was. You needed something special and reinforced, or it can't just be a mitten. So it was. I took it as it had to have something that can withstand it.
I bought it and I didn't buy it. Like I was like, yeah, that kind of just negates the.
It made sense for the end result, but for that, like, whenever I was thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you like made this thing of he had to go to the same place where
The hammer
like
was-
the hammer was forged, Stormbreaker was forged.
Neverthelere or something. Yeah.
Nemenir or whatever, and we didn't get that Peter Dinklage moment again.
I think
Kinda
they're
sad.
okay with that. I think they're okay with that.
I wanted to see a giant Peter
That was
Dinklage.
weird. That was a weird choice.
But then they made like Thanos made me make this glove to hold this, and so
Yeah.
like they kind of made it seem like it was supposed to be a cosmic thing in my mind.
Yeah.
But like so then all of a sudden, okay, Stark can do it. Stark can make it, and so I was like, okay, that was just the one thing I had wrong with. I still can't really wrap my head around, but I'll accept it. But it was still kind of like, well, why did you have to have it the big?
Well,
crazy-
apparently, whatever Stark's nanotech suit is strong enough to withstand a moon getting dropped on him, and
Yeah.
can cut Thanos. So
It's like, yeah, when you have a planet dropped on you.
And
I'm sorry, I was too busy getting a freaking moon dropped on.
Yeah,
me. I apologize.
and can still fly around and function afterwards, and so I figured it was strong enough, and actually I like the fact that I think
you made my argument invalid by saying he had a fucking moon dropped on his armor.
It expanding like that, I think was it set up the ending when all he had to do was touch the glove. Because now you've seen how his nanotech responds morphs in response. All he had to do was touch the glove. He was able to. Because then they showed when he has all the stones, one's still moving up into place. So it all just kind of works together. So I thought that showing the expansion scene set up how he was able to grab 5 stones off of a gauntlet real quick, and he didn't. It just
you bring up a very valid point.
Yeah,
I am wrong. You're right.
Oh well, that's the only way it made sense to me. So
then we have him. Hulk says, "No, it's got to be me. It's all it has to be me. I'm the only one that can."
Yeah, because the
radiation,
gamma radiation.
Yeah, most of them is gamma. So I mean, it shouldn't be too bad. And then he snaps, and then in that moment they're like, "Did it work? Did it work? Did it work?"
Yeah, and you see like
and
the
then
birds
you see the
outside
phone.
and shit in the phone.
And then my heart. This is when I teared a little bit when I saw when you see the phone ring, Hawkeye's phone ring, and it's Laura calling.
Yeah.
And like my thing is like, dude, do you miss your wife that much? You're
answer
gonna
the phone. Yeah.
run to the goddamn phone. And then you had like the birds chirping, and for Scott Lang, it's like, dude, I think it worked. We have 2 birds, not just one.
Did y'all see him like once the impact actually hit
Okay.
that he got tiny?
Yes. The first
I didn't.
time,
I
didn't
caught it the
notice.
second
the
time.
first time I was like, oh, he's dead. Like,
I did
right.
too.
First time I
Wait.
thought he died.
Yeah,
And then I
but
was
yeah,
careful
the
to watch it
time
the
he
second
shrinks
time,
down.
and he was like, you could see like as his body like is going backwards, it's getting smaller.
I didn't even realize. I really thought like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought-
Because when he
I thought
got
that's
up,
the-
I was
yeah.
like, how the fuck are you alive? You're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So-
I did catch that the second time.
So then at that moment, the same exact moment, because in the background while they're doing this, past Nebula is bringing in Thanos' freaking monster ship, and so they don't know that's going on because they're locked in barn door protocol.
That was the other thing. Why wasn't Nebula in the barn door with them? Like, hey, we're gonna do this snap. You may want to come in the safe space instead of being like, nah, girl, you go wait out in the lobby.
Yeah. Well, I think like she's like snuck out before it all happened.
Oh.
But so that happened. Then all of a sudden they rain down fire and blow up the Avengers compound, and they all get stuck in their crazy place. And then they let Hawkeye have this really badass scene where he freaking like just ninja cuts all these guys in half. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, by the way, I mentioned this to Sam. So like the first time you see Ronan, because I'm just thinking about this now, that fight scene was a one-shot. I didn't even realize that the first time. I was just kind of watching it, but like,
Oh, what?
Oh,
yeah, it's a
it was.
one-shot.
Wow.
It was a one shot all the way up until
He cuts him, he beheads him
he
or
does
stabs him.
The
stab.
feudal death.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
want
was
to
a
rewatch
complete
that.
one shot.
Yeah.
It's like they borrowed some of the Steadicam guys from Daredevil.
Yeah.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense because you can use multiple guys dressed up as Ronin running through that complex.
Yeah, you could.
So actually, it'd be easier to stage because there's a lot they just don't show you here screaming and then people falling out of windows.
And that means when
That'd
they
be
do
an
the-
easier thing to time, just to like now.
And then when they did
Yeah.
the reveal,
Now.
when they did the reveal of Hawkeye being Ronin in that scene, it was a separate shot. It was a cutaway. So
Yeah.
at that point, really, you could you just had stunt guys that whole time.
Yeah.
But back to the present.
Back to the-
That
back to the-
that was a neat thing that
Back to where we
caught.
were originally.
Yeah.
So now our heroes got to, Thanos comes down. He's just sitting in the middle there. He's like, all right,
Waiting.
go get my waiting. And then you got Cap,
fucking
Iron Man,
intimidating is
and
that?
Thor.
Bruh, I was nervous at that. I was like, he's got a big sword now. I was like,
He's got,
oh.
he's got a freaking helicopter blade now.
Yeah, I was waiting for Thor to lose his arm. For a while in the comics, he
didn't
has
think
his
about
metal
that.
arm. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he's gonna chop his arm off.
that was
I
Beta.
like, oh snap!
Was that Thor or was that Beta Ray Bill?
No, it was Thor.
It was Thor?
Yeah, I had a metal one. But
Talk about a great beginning fight scene though. Like
Oh,
between
yeah.
Oh, dude.
three.
oh my god,
The three that started it.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to say this: Fat Thor in Thor armor looks
Dude,
way better.
he had like this
than
Viking
Built
thing
Storm.
going on.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
The braids and shit. Yeah.
It like looked like legit. Like I'm gonna fuck you up. You know,
Yeah.
like
Dual wielding.
dual wielding Mjolnir and Stormbreaker.
Now, I did not anticipate or see Cap being able to wield the hammer.
Now, when you saw it, were you in with like a crowd of people, or
Yes.
were you, okay?
Did they-
So,
Everyone lost their mind.
oh,
Yeah.
dude, well,
Yeah.
everyone was cheering.
That
Yeah.
That was the most
biggest
epic
oh
thing I've
shit.
seen.
I yelled, "Fuck him up, Cap!" Like you know, it's like
I did not see that coming.
Well, because in Age of Ultron, when they're all trying to pick up the hammer,
shimmies
he
it.
budges it.
yeah.
And so you see that look on Thor's face, like, what? Like, how
like
did
is he
just do
worthy?
that?
Is he
Yeah.
worthy? And then like he goes, "I knew it."
Yeah.
But like in the comics, there's a period of time whenever
A
Captain
lot of people
America-
willed it in the
Willed
comics,
it,
or
yeah.
have wielded it in the comics. But
and so like they gave us that, which is nice,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And he fucks Thanos up for a little bit, and then
yeah,
The hammer, like throwing the shield and like hitting it back with the hammer and
with the
him summoning lightning and stuff.
the vibranium.
him hacking through the shield though. I was
Yeah.
like,
I was
oh
getting
man,
worried.
yeah.
That had my heart there, and but we got that epic scene of Cap standing in front of an army by himself.
Yeah. That was
That's gonna be my
uh,
wallpaper.
I was about to say it's
When
gonna
that
make
comes
for
out.
a really great wallpaper someday.
And then, me and Eric's favorite part coming
On your
right
left.
up, man.
Oh,
On your
man.
left.
On your left.
That was a perfect line for it. There were just so many great little things like that.
On your
That were
left,
everyone
fan
And
service.
Everybody comes in and like you got the chills.
the
and
the
then he's-
Wakandan chant going on in the background with the music, just like
yeah.
You got everybody coming. Then you got all the Asgardians too coming in too. That was also like
Valkyrie showing up. was
Valkyrie
cool.
showing up.
Pepper Potts.
Pepper showing everybody.
Which was funny.
Ant-Man turned to Giant Man.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody coming together. And then we finally get, after 11 years, 22 movies, the line, Avengers Assemble.
and he didn't like it didn't come off cheesy.
No.
It was like I was like, fucking yes.
He goes,
Like-
Avengers, hammer, assemble.
Yeah.
And then Thor lets out the greatest war cry of all time. Like, Thor has always had the greatest war cry. I said this to you guys last
You
night.
did.
Like, it's just perfect. Like, I aspire to have that war cry. Just to shout it, like, in the middle of a McDonald's as I'm chowing down on a burger.
But I like that Pepper Potts was in it in the suit because in the scene where you first meet Morgan, she's wearing the helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Mommy never
left."
wears anything, Daddy gets her or whatever. And so she shows up in the suit. I thought that was nice.
Now, there was one thing I forgot whenever they were first fighting. Whenever they do the Stark, Thor, hey, Thor, hit me with it. And it hits the back of his suit and has this big laser
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
That was so cool.
Yeah. That's back from the first Avengers where he charges them up in the scene in the
He
woods.
does
I like that
chest
Thor's
piece.
lightning like powers up his suit. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
compatible.
There were that whole ending fight scene, for it being as long as it was, I didn't get bored. In fact, I was nervous the entire time. But like, someone's gonna die. Like,
Well, like, the
any
ending-
moment now.
So the ending, like from when the missiles hit to when the missiles hit in the movie, because I wanted to know how what time does that start at? So I was thinking it was like each part was an hour. No, that was like 2 hours and 20 minutes into it.
Yeah, no, the ending fight scene is forever. It felt like a good 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
fight
and
scene.
that's like at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
the rest of the movie does this great job of being what it is. It gave us a great fight scene.
Ant-Man sucker punching the Goliath.
That was
Or
cool.
I'm sorry, the Leviathan was.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite like non-major moment in the movie.
And then we get to see Tony Stark and Spider-Man. Like,
Back
Some
to-
beautiful scenes,
man.
man. Some
I
beautiful scenes.
cried. He held
I
my
didn't see
hand.
it the first time, but last night I saw that thing and I was like, God damn, like that. The
Yeah,
feels.
and then you had we finally get the actual Iron Spider with the
Oh, yeah, like
tentacles
kill
coming
them,
out.
like,
Insta kill, yeah.
The insta kill.
That was great.
We're coming up to the part, I believe. I think I know what you were talking about earlier when you said like that he had said something during the fight scene that like sold you on he's the
No,
Spartan.
it was the it was all the way at the end. I'm sorry, we're gonna fast forward just a bit. When after all the ending and funeral, when it shows Parker going back to school and seeing his buddy, who also had
That
died.
made me cry.
But yeah, I teared up on that one because like it's Ned also died.
Are you sure? They never
Yes.
mentioned it.
Yeah,
They both died because here's the problem. Some of them didn't. Some of their class didn't. It has been 5 years. He's like, yes, there is the world's a little messed up right now. They said you'll notice that going forward because some people, they're born on the same day and they're 5 years apart
Yeah.
due to the snap. But even so, Ned has no idea what happened to his superhero buddy.
Yeah. Okay.
Until he just shows back up. He has no idea what caused it. Parker just left on a spaceship. They've been dead for 5 years.
Yeah.
They're back. But even the guy who plays Ned, his facial expression was
Oh god, it was like
Oh yeah.
you could tell like they're like legit best friends or something.
yeah,
It was like,
it felt very sincere. Man, I teared up at that one. I was like, because it is just a kid again. It is a high school kid. So that one really sold it for me because it's always been you have your Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. There's some cool college kid, blah blah blah. And it's like no, it's
like he's a kid.
It's a kid. That's
They
doing
call
it,
him
so-
kid throughout the whole
Yeah.
thing. He's a kid.
Yeah.
Once you're
So-
Cap, then you call them Queens.
Yeah.
Hey, Queens, here you go.
Took me a while to realize, like, who the hell is he talking to? Like,
Yeah.
he's talking to one of the women. You can't call him that, man.
Although when all the female Avengers like teamed up, I was
I had a problem with that. I know it was
Really?
kind of A-forcing,
Really?
but it felt
Right.
spoon-fed. It
Yeah.
felt
It
like
did,
Really?
but, you
why
know-
don't you,
Would've
why don't you
been cool.
mansplain that to me?
Let me explain this. No, what I thought would have been better instead of we're just gonna do all female thing was you have Captain Marvel or you have any of the women carrying the thing. That would have been a great time for a team up, like not just we're gonna do women
Yeah, I can see
only.
that.
I was like, what if it was all the guys are trying to also defend the strongest person? Because I was like, look, it's adorable, guys. Y'all are all helping me here, but I'm Captain Marvel. Just you're in my way.
Yeah. Well, oh god.
Or if
Captain
Thor
Marvel-
would have shown up to like try to clear a path, or because they already had their like, I like this one. I thought they were gonna play on that, but
I
it just
thought-
felt a little heavy-handed.
Yeah, it felt the setup for it was a little like forced, but I was also just like, how else do you shoot that scene?
Yeah,
Like,
and-
how else do you make that happen naturally?
That you'll never have all those people in the same place again. So I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
doing it, but it was like, what were y'all doing? Like, Wasp was in the van that just blew up, trying to fix the quantum whatever the thing.
the other time machine.
Yeah, the other time machine, and
I
now
guess
she's
I
just-
didn't really care because it was like, finally, okay, we could get this. Let's see what that future holds.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm okay with that moment.
I'm not gonna lie. In our theater, there was a massive groan throughout. It was again not because it was women on screen. It was so heavy-handed. It would have been if there was a cheesy line at that same moment. There would have been another natural groan, but it was just like
I think, and the thing
Why?
is, I feel like they had to do it heavy-handed, and the reason is because you have so much else that you have to.
you have to
cover.
point it out. I get
You
that.
have to
yeah.
do it. You have to do it heavy-handed.
Wouldn't mind seeing 2 or 3 just fighting all back to back, holding their own, kicking ass. Same way they did it with Scarlett Johansson, Scarlet Witch, and Wakanda staff lady
Infinity War, yeah.
in Infinity War. I was like, that's a great
And
combo,
Michelle,
team
gotcha.
up, like kind of naturally, organically built. This you took time out to like frame this.
And like for me, I didn't have a problem with it.
like
It was the
the-
one thing that took me out. Took me out of the scene. And I was like, that's I think why I was so.
I will
upset
say,
about
then from there, if we're gonna go, then Captain Marvel comes in and it completely and utterly blows
Before
up.
that,
Yeah, she comes
Before
up
that.
before that.
Scarlet Witch gets her revenge.
It does,
on Thanos.
yeah.
Had he not called in that barrage of missiles, dude, he would have bit it from her alone. Like she
There's-
would have dismantled him.
There's
completely.
quite a few people in like the MCU that could take Thanos one-on-one, depending on the situation. Like Scarlet Witch being one of them. I believe like more of like a future Spider-Man, like a little bit more mature. Like he could obviously do it.
I don't know about that.
Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl.
She can
Yeah.
do it.
Drax in the comic books, he could do it.
He can do it. Yeah. No, I like the. I did like the fight scene between Captain Marvel and Thanos, and I like the fact that he has to like grab he headbutts her, she doesn't move.
Yeah.
He grabs the purple stone and then has
That's
to
what does
punch
it.
her with that, which I was like, that was clever. I was like, what do you do with the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really.
I was referring to blowing up the spaceship.
Oh, that too. Well, apparently she's very good at just running through spaceships because
Like,
that's all
she just
does.
just blew the crap out of that thing.
It gave me flashbacks to The Last Jedi, when I mean, not exactly, but like just the scene where the ship goes into hyperdrive through
yeah,
the.
okay.
Yeah.
I did get goosebumps when all of a sudden the guns turn up and start shooting at something.
Yeah,
Like, what are they
like, what are
shooting
they
at?
firing
Something
at?
just
Yeah.
came through orbit, and I was like, oh shit, Marvel's here! Like, here we go. I did get goosebumps about that. So
Okay, so then and now we're at the point when it's Tony
Tony,
and
Oh yeah.
Tony and
'Cause-
Thanos, they're
'cause
going-
Thanos punches Captain Marvel, and then Tony looks at Strange, and Strange just puts up one finger, signifying that
this is your chance. If you don't do
Yeah.
it now, you're done.
when earlier he had said, I can't tell you what the last moment is or it won't happen. That's all. I was like, oh, that was a clever little.
Way to like nod it. Like I'm not telling you.
Not telling you the ending to the movie, there, audience.
So he pulls a good old Muhammad Ali, has him looking right when he's going left,
Oh yeah.
and he plays the good old sleight of hand, literally, like literally sleight of hands. And Tony gets the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos,
Yeah.
and we get
His last words.
the last
Yeah.
words of Tony Stark is "I am Iron Man,"
Yeah.
and
Which, how beautifully poetic that the last words that he said in
got
the first
chills
Iron Man
saying it.
movie.
First time that started it off, so that was great.
and then lots of tears.
Oh God.
Whew,
Lots
so
of
many.
tears.
So
I
many.
love it. And I love that Thanos just sits.
Yeah, it's done. He knows
yeah.
it.
I was after I saw it the first time. I always like whenever I go like see a movie, if I go see it with friends, like we always like sit outside for about another hour,
after,
and then we
yeah.
just kind of contemplate and we talk about it. And I was telling like my buddies that I went and saw it with, I was like, I almost felt like I kind of wanted him to say like one last little bit of line, but then like seeing it last night, I completely changed. I was like, I actually enjoy him just sitting there getting that last sigh out. Like I think that was well done as well.
Now, here's my question. I think leaves some room open for how things proceed, and they never address and they never say, what was Tony's last snap?
Oh.
What did he phrase, or what did he?
What did he say? They
wish
don't
for?
know. All we know is he.
You don't know. But yeah, that's the thing. Because if it was get rid of Thanos and all of his people, well, then Gamora's gone too,
Right, which leads up to why
and,
like
and
that.
Nebula.
and Nebula. So it's.
But Nebula was Nebula in the
well,
finals.
it's our Nebula.
Yeah, it's our
not they killed.
So
There's
it's
Nebula.
so it's one of those things. What are you using that for? But
Yeah, how did he phrase it?
but then so
He didn't reverse
Thanos-
time. He only
he didn't
killed
reverse
his
time.
people.
He only killed these
so,
people.
yeah.
So now we got Stark, who's really out of it. He's in pretty much his body's in probably shock, just complete shock.
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
Spider-Man is trying to like say, "Hey, we did it, Mr. Stark. No, don't go anywhere.
He
no,
said-
go anywhere.
Or
Don't-"
serious-
Did anybody else be like, hey kid, Pepper, his wife is trying to say
Yeah,
something like,
that's what kept-
excuse me.
That's why I kept saying, kid.
Kid,
He
it's okay.
did say like I heard him say it the second time. Like he was just like, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Stark."
Yeah.
I heard him say it. I was like, "Nope, no, you need to shut up. I don't need any more Niagara Falls coming out of my eyes." right
Yep.
now."
And then Pepper takes over and says, "It's okay. You can rest now."
Yeah, well, I thought it was some beautiful lines that me and Morgan are going to be okay. You
Yeah.
can rest now. Like, I was like,
And then
yeah, she's rich. She's got an Iron Man armor. She'll be all right. Like, it's,
and then His eyes don't close. We just see the signal of his hand giving way.
Well, and his
Arc reactor goes out and his hand goes down.
Yep.
And we say goodbye to Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well done, Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr., you gave us 11 years of movies. If it wasn't for you saying, I am Iron Man at the end of a movie 11 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here talking for almost an hour and a half about this.
Okay, and real quick,
Go ahead.
funeral.
Yes.
What I lost it. I finally
Yeah.
ugly cried. Like had to do the entire time. I was like, I'm not gonna make a sound. Finally, the one moment I did. Was Happy Hogan and Morgan.
The
That's
cheeseburgers.
why I cried.
Cheeseburgers.
That's the second time I
One,
ugly cried.
I thought it was. I was like, it's fitting. That's Jon Favreau. He directed the first Iron Man. This is also his little. He gets a little moment as well because he's kind of the grandfather of the first movie. And
But then it's what Morgan says.
and then yes, and I was, but also like, okay, one in real life, I suck at funerals. Like I don't know what to say. It's always
Well,
like
nobody's good at
no
it.
one knows. Yeah.
Unless
I'm
you're
a
like
pro.
professional.
I'm a professional
Funeral
but no, I
goer.
always lead off with, and I swear to God, it always follows by the word shit of, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Like it's always, but I thought that was like, what do you say to a kid who's just lost his father? Like, okay, cheeseburger. You want a cheeseburger? I'll get you all the fucking cheeseburgers you want, little girl.
Exactly.
I was like, I'll get her too. I'll get all the cheeseburgers that little girl wants.
I had a cheeseburger after the movie because of it. I went to Burger King too because that's the cheeseburgers that he had.
that he has after. Yeah.
So, in the funeral, we're doing the pan,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, of course, we got the Spider-Man, we got Cap standing right there. You got the main Avengers. Then we go. Then we have everybody, like even freaking like Van Dyne. What's her name?
Janet
Van Dyne's there. They
Yeah.
have that. Then we pass around. Then we go. Then we get to the fucking kid,
Kid from
Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I didn't even know who that was.
No, I didn't
was
either.
like,
I had
who
to
the fuck
lean
is
over and
that
ask.
dude?
No.
Well, Mark
he-
had to tell me.
I told him,
yesterday.
I was like, that's the kid from Iron Man 3. And like, I was sitting there because when I first saw it, I was like, why is that kid? Oh, they did bring him back for it. This is my one problem in that whole scene. Where the fuck was Coulson?
Coulson is
dead.
No, Coulson at the end of the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he got snapped. Where's Coulson?
Oh, are they in space?
well. So Coulson dies in the first Avengers,
Yeah.
right?
And he's brought back
And
as
then
a
they
Kree.
bring him back in
the
Agents
show.
of Shield show, but the rest of the crew doesn't. Like the Avengers don't know that.
Yeah.
I still think it would have been like, hey, he just happens to be at the balcony by Nick Fury, but doesn't let himself known.
I was about to say, Nick Fury knows Coulson's alive.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that got the what's the hover carrier, helicarrier, prepped and ready for Age of Ultron.
Yep.
Due to the show and that. But I thought he died at the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. still has one more season.
I
He
thought
did.
he-
He got snapped.
Oh, I thought he died of like a disease or something last season.
See, I could have swore. I could have swore it was a snap, but you might be right. I have to relook at it.
Yeah, I haven't watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I just kind of keep up with reviews and updates on it, but I haven't watched it in a long while.
So we had the funeral. My thing before the actual shot of that scene, and this is the moment that 100% made me ugly cry, to point of like my wife having to console me, was when it is the virtual reality and Tony Stark looks up for a second and looks directly at his daughter and says, "I love you 3000." I'm sorry, it's making me tear up right now. like
Yeah.
that moment was just like beautiful storytelling, it's beautiful. And so like I thought we had such a fitting tribute for Tony Stark. And then we go to the end of the movie, because this movie's kind of like Lord of the Rings, and it has 3 endings. And so we get to, they need to put the stones back.
Yep.
And so we got Winter Soldier, Falcon, Cap, and Professor Hulk.
Yep.
Bucky fucking knows. Watching
yeah.
it a second time, I
Bucky
didn't
knew
catch.
what he was
Bucky knew what was going to happen. Like he knew that he was going to go and live out his life and everything.
And so Cap goes and he doesn't come back. We see old man Cap hands the shield off to Falcon, which
I'm on board with it.
I'm on board with it. I would have liked to seen him in Winter Soldier so we can have a Winter Soldier Cap, but it made more sense within this universe to have Falcon.
Someone's argument online was, but I mean, Bucky also like, I know he wasn't under the right mindset, but like Bucky killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
It did
went
make
on
sense in
a
the
dark
universe.
path. So Falcon's been.
I'd have been like, "Are you sure? Because he's got super soldier serum in him, and I got wings."
Yeah.
And so then we have, he says, I don't think I'm going to tell you about that.
Yeah.
And then he goes and we see Captain America finally get his dance.
Yep.
I think it was also a smart move. They didn't. Well, now they had to go back and explain what the hell that all meant. But like, it opens up a possibilities of how did this play out.
And so like if they wanted to, it's like, hey, one off,
Yep.
come back.
Well, I mean, it sets up other possibilities. Like they're talking about the first What If series being what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum instead of Steve Rogers.
Oh, that would
Will be the
interesting.
first What If they're gonna do from Disney Plus.
Who would play?
It's gonna
Peggy?
be Haley Atwell, but they're I don't know what they're gonna do, how they're gonna do it, but
I'm just imagining it's like would China play the other one, but China's not alive.
China did.
I was just sitting there. I was like, who would play the other one? Yeah. So then the thing is like we got the full story, but that wasn't the end. We got the
We got the Guardians of the Galaxy.
The Asgardians.
The Asgardians of the
Asgardians
Galaxy.
of the Galaxy.
Thor hands off his
Crown.
crown to Valkyrie.
Thor's story.
I'm really excited to see Guardians 3 now.
Yeah.
That Thor's going to be with that crew now.
Sorry, it's a podcast. I guess I'm tapping
okay.
on shit.
Yeah, you guys have been tapping on the table the whole time.
Somebody's a little pissy about it. Now, let me put this drink down.
Yeah, so then we get the fitting tribute that every person over the past 11 years deserves to get is the way that they sent off every cast member by having them do the signatures.
Signature,
I know,
yeah, that
classy
was
as fuck.
The,
that was
the Star Trek throwback, if you will, for
Yeah.
the last Star Trek movie, of having them all do that. And the way that they even did like the scenes of introducing the people was kind of like that classic Oscars
Yeah.
flash of all.
It
all
did
the
seem like
hits.
that's how they do it when people have died in the year.
Exactly right.
So
And then we go all the way. I've watched the credits. They kicked us out of the theater the first time.
yeah,
They kicked us out of the theater. But at the very end, there's just sound of metal clanking together.
Yeah.
And it's just Iron Man suits
Yeah,
clanking
it was-
together.
it
Just as
seemed-
another little tribute
yeah.
to Iron Man.
But I mean, they're really indebted to Robert Downey Jr. At the same time, Robert Downey Jr. made I want to say $225 million over the course of the series.
He took
He made
on the
70
first Avengers.
million. He made over 70 million for this movie.
Yeah.
I know
Yesterday.
the first Avengers movie. He took back end money.
Yeah, he
for
took
it.
back
He made
end, yeah.
$50 million
Yeah.
off of back end. Whenever Chris Hemsworth only made $250,000.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's
It said Hemsworth made actually the report came out of everyone's salaries on it. And I think the lowest, all of them made at least $5 million. I think Hemsworth made about 15 this time. So everyone got up pay.
They got their paid.
But I think RDJ was like, "No, I want the back end. I'm good
Yeah.
in the front." Like just
Hey, give me back end residuals.
Yeah.
You're gonna make $1 billion.
Yeah.
You're gonna make $1.2 billion in 3 days.
what I mean, if you're making a $200 million movie, yeah, that's you're probably okay with that.
Yeah, you're good.
yeah.
But yeah, that's Avengers Endgame.
So to close out, I want to leave a closing question. Infinity War or Endgame? What do you prefer?
Endgame.
Endgame.
Endgame was just the greatest closure to the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
And Infinity War was a great setup for what Endgame was, but Endgame just drove it all the way home for me.
So now we'll see what comes out of.
Go ahead, Eric. You go first.
No.
Four.
Oh, okay.
I'm still trying to decide.
Oh, you're still trying to decide. This is a cop-out answer. I like them both equally because I think they complement each other. I think Infinity War is an excellent villains movie, and then I think Endgame is a fantastic heroes movie. And I think sandwiched together, it's hard for me to choose, which is why I'm sticking with both.
All right, so
Wake sauce.
for fan service and everything like that, Endgame gave me everything I ever wanted from a freaking comic book movie in my life. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm a huge Captain America fan. You know, I always have been, and that was the best tribute ever for Captain America was him tightening that shield and standing there and fighting everybody off because that's who Cap is. That being said, the hero of Infinity War, which technically the hero of Infinity War by the story is Thanos. That was a crazy story arc of somebody getting what they want, and that was one of the more well written movies of a villain being the main antagonist in a 10-year series of movies. So it's like it's really hard to decide. They're both really good. I think if you look at them as all one movie, they're one of the best movies put out. I'm going to go with Endgame just because that is the most epic movie I've ever seen in my life, over Star Wars.
Yeah, I will say the end fight scene was probably like the most amazing fight I've ever seen in a film. It was pretty great.
It was fantastic.
But I think we've definitely gone past the 1 hour mark.
Yes, we did.
But Adam, thank you for hanging out with us today and talking to us about that.
Oh yeah, no problem.
But yeah, guys, in the comment section, tell us what you think about Endgame. If you liked the film, if you like this podcast, also let us know. Hit the like button, all that fun shit.
If you want to get more notifications on it, hit that subscribe button and also hit the little dingly thing.
The dingly ding.
The dingly thing.
The dingly thing is called a bell.
Also, go check out. Yeah, but seriously, do you want to plug your channel real quick?
Oh yeah. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you get your podcasts. So SoundCloud, Google Play, Apple, whatever.
You on that Spoofy? You on that Spotify?
On that Spotify,
Hell yeah.
we on that SoundCloud. Check us out on Patreon. Yeah, if you want to actually get rid of some money, that's cool. We'll take it. But no, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all under Yeah, But Seriously.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Or thanks for
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, I'm Mark.
I'm Sam.
I'm Eric.
Yep.
And
Guest star Adam.
we'll see you next week. Later, everybody.
Later.